November 15th. What have you got for us? Okay. We have got the sun making this sextile to the moon at 6:20 a.m. What's happening before that? Are we getting a break? Oh my gosh, we're sleeping. Whoop, whoop. We're sleeping tonight, guys. Okay, we are sleeping tonight. So the sun making a sextile with the moon at 6:20 a.m. Melbourne time, happening at 22 degrees, which is the Capricorn degree. Okay, so this is, we're really trying to find and explore with detail the darkness, right? Scorpio moon at 22 degrees, right? So we're looking at the long-term goal of kind of going into the darkness, right? What is the sun trying to show you about the shadow side, right, of your long-term goals, or the shadow side of why you can or can't focus, right? Like why you over focus, why you can't focus, right? We're trying to see something within that space in regards to that Scorpio energy, something that needs to be reborn, something that needs to be burned down, something that needs to kind of transform, right? Now, having the moon at 22 degrees of Virgo makes us very analytical and very good at work. So really locking in and being able to let that energy kind of guide us is kind of what we want to go with it, right? Because these next two aspects, so 6:39, this is where like we've noticed something, right? And now we need to really understand it. We need to put it in order. We need to find like this new skill, right? Like something needs to be organized. And if that Mercury at 4 degrees of Sagittarius, that can really bring up, where you maybe haven't felt secure speaking your mind, right? This could also be like actually somebody running their mouth, right, within your family space, not making you feel very secure, being very judgmental. It could be you being very judgmental as well. But this is where we need to kind of ask ourselves, is like the way that I sort of learned about my own communication within family, is it worth holding on to any of that old stuff, or can I now move forward? And because then we have this Chiron retrograding at 23 degrees of Aries. So like we're going through this last bit of this retrograde of the childhood wound of identity. And we're sort of now needing this kind of compromise, because as we move into 23 degrees of Virgo, we can be, on a detailed way, we can show this new authentic side of us, right? And there is something within that authenticity that this Virgo moon can help us kind of heal and understand and build habits around. And that's really what we're looking at within that space, right? Now, 1105 semi-square to Venus could be a bit annoying, right? Venus at 10 degrees of Scorpio could involve work, could involve a long-term work contract. And a semi-square can be a little bit annoying, right? Like, it's creating a bit of tension, but it's deciding if something's going to be worth it. Like, is something going to be worth it? And so if this is a work situation for you, then that Venus at 10 degrees of Scorpio is talking about maybe signing a contract for a long-term job. And like, is that worth it? And 25 degrees of Virgo is the I am component, right? The Aries degree. So, is it worth locking into something long-term now? Is it worth putting all of this energy and all of this overthinking into, is this going to be long-term, is the kind of questioning energy that we get there. So, even if that's a relationship dynamic or a work dynamic, we're asking that question, right? Like, is there something here that I can lock into for a long-term goal or a long-term relationship, or am I overthinking those two things and I just need to kind of sit and let it go and get rid of something that's really outworn, right? And then this sextile to Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is retrograding, okay? So this is going to help us analyze and notice the details of this, like, I am component and the habits that are around it in relation to feeling secure, in relation to expanding your idea of who you are as a person through this inner security and inner family dynamic and inner kind of space, right? And that opposition to Saturn at 11:30 is really telling us that something within your inner mentality has to shift. Some kind of inner belief needs to shift in order for you to feel kind of comfortable, right? In order for you to put yourself first, in order for you to think of your own needs, something needs to shift within an inner belief system. And then we get 1201. We need to like really think about and understand and ask ourselves if it's worth holding on to a job or person, right? because 7 degrees is the Libra degree. So is it worth holding on to that adventure? Is it worth holding on to that rage about that relationship? Is it worth, seeking the truth and moving from this place of seeking the truth? Is it worth it? Or should I just let it go, right? Then we get 1251 sextile to Lilith, who is now at 26 degrees, which is the Taurus degree. And this is where we're like looking for stability, right? For some people, this is also Lilith at 26 degrees of Scorpio. For some people, depending on where all of this sits in your chart, that could be really showing you where the long-term money is if you stop rejecting yourself, right? Because 26 degrees of Virgo wants you to make a plan, wants you to make a stable plan. And if you're dealing with a lot of Taurus energy in your money houses, and we're all kind of revisiting abundance and material wealth and all of those Taurus related things, with Uranus being retrograding at 29 degrees, which we're going to have a little bit of a meet up down here at 8:08 p.m. So this one really is kind of helping us get rid of any kind of rejected ideas that we have around our worthiness for long-term abundance, long-term contracts, long-term locking in, investing kind of energy. And like what habits we need now that we are not rejecting those parts of us, because those parts of us now need to be brought into the physical world and they need to have their own kind of program around them, right? So if we're no longer feeling unworthy, or like we're never going to achieve any kind of long-term abundance or long-term security within money or relationship, then what habits do I need to continue going down that path, right? Then this 3 p.m. is a bit of stress, okay? Because we have this 10 degrees of Scorpio, right? Which is that investment kind of focus, long-term, kind of put the work in kind of energy. And so because this Venus is in Scorpio and we're in a Mercury retrograde in Scorpio right now, this bit of stress could really come up because something within your inner belief system that we've shifted earlier with that Saturn aspect has really made you wonder, like, why I keep going around and around in circles, either in work or in a one-on-one relationship. And where is the secret? And what is the secret? And can I find the secret, right? And then we get this opposition to Neptune, and then this trine to Uranus just like within 20 minutes of each other. And this is massive energy, especially for those of you who are on kind of the ancestral healing journey or more of the spiritual witchy kind of journey. These two aspects get out under that moon, okay? Because this 29 degree of Virgo moon, it's going to be calling back for some people the eclipse energy that we had on like September 22, I want to say. Something that kind of wrapped up around then is becoming part of this story, because something that wrapped up around then, we're now kind of holding that up against like the last 15 years. And we're holding that up against like that Neptune 160-year generational ancestral kind of wounding place. And we're wanting to ask, like, why can't I put into action some of the things I need to put into action, right? Habits, health, whatever it is, 29 degrees of Virgo. Why can't I do that? Why do I struggle with that? How is that related to the ancestors, right? So we have this tug of war moment between, these old things from the past, these old traumas from the past, and this want to kind of build something healthier, something more aligned with us, right? Let's cut off the bad habits from the ancestors or the generational trauma, and let's look at our own, right? And so then we get this trine to the Uranus retrograde. So while that Neptune retrograde is helping us look back at, the more Neptunian kind of qualities, so the spiritual, the trauma, the emotional patterns, those sorts of things, the Uranus at 29 degrees of Taurus retrograde is having us look at the last 8 years, right? Now, this does bring in a bigger story, because the last time Uranus was in Taurus 84 years ago, right? So this one is, let's look back at the last 8 years in regards to material possessions, wealth, abundance, stability, and where within those spaces you've kind of been asked to change something, to evolve something, right? Where? And now let's use this Virgo component. Let's look at these details. And then, because this is a trine, okay, and it wants you to find a strength here. And so we can use that habitual quality of that discerning 29 degrees in Virgo to build these new habits, to move away from these bad habits of being overly material based when it comes to rewards and abundance and whether or not you feel successful. Okay. And then the moon will be void, and then it will move into Libra right before midnight, and it will make a trine with Pluto. And this is kind of where we're looking at the cause and effect in regards to these new kind of parts of us that we're starting to see, and how they help or hinder you showing up as your authentic self in one-on-one relationship dynamics, right? So the trine, again, is, a very positive aspect, and there is a natural harmony between these two things. Obviously, they're air signs and they want to kind of flow together. So this is like an inner conversation, if you will, between, the king of the underworld, Pluto, right, wanting to be the weirdo, Aquarius, and the moon, our emotions, and this kind of give and take energy of Libra. And like, what are we going to take from that shadow? What are we going to bring forward? What are we going to use to be authentic and in how we relate to people? Okay, so all in all, not a bad day. Could be a little bit frustrating in that early morning as we're waking up with that Chiron energy, but all in all, a really fucking positive day, which is really nice to be saying. So enjoy. If you would like a reading, come and book one. Otherwise, see you on the socials. Stay weird.